Hi there, this video will instruct you how to make a peony, but we're going to use the Magnolia Mini Flower template. So I like to take my existing templates and style them different ways, and I always like to make a peony with that, with each template to show you the versatility of the templates. So you're going to cut everything according to the sizes listed at the beginning of this video. Also linked in the description of this video is to my Facebook page, and it will take you to the guides tab in the PhotoFabPaperFlower makers group, and there you have a written instruction document with the sizes to go along with this instruction video. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I did prep some of the petals just because it does take a little bit of time, and you can optionally use some ink to add some color to your petals as well, which I will show you that, but that's totally optional for you. You're also going to need your flower shaping mat, your plastic half sphere mold, which is your peony mold. It's used for quilling. I do offer them in my Etsy shop, but if you are out of country, it's also in my Amazon storefront, linked in the description below. You need a bone folder for the center, slotted quilling tool, your metal ball stylus tools, and I think I mentioned it, the flower shaping mat. So the metal ball stylus tools is what we're going to use in tandem with the plastic half sphere mold. Okay, so we're just going to take, now for 3 of them, we're going to use the smaller mold. So if you flip it over and you look at it from the bottom, it's the second one up, it's the 30 millimeter. So for 3 of them, we use the 30 millimeter, and for the rest of them, 8 of them, you use the 35 millimeter. Okay, so I already did 2 of them with the smaller one, so I just need 1 of those, and then the rest we do again with the 35 millimeter. And how do you know what size? If you place your petal right up to the edge, you can see it fits perfectly in there. If I go to this one, I'm not going to get much curl when I press down. So I'm just going to use the 35 millimeter. You press it in with your thumb a little bit. You can take one of the larger metal ball stylus tools, like this end, and we're just going to stir it in there so it takes the shape of the half sphere or half circle. Rotate it. Press in your next petal, and then press all around, and then in the center. So just give it a good stir. Okay, and then you rotate it around, and then give it a good stir. So it really takes the shape of your petal. And it almost looks like a little measuring spoon. And then what you can do is roll it on your flower shaping mat in the center, and it lifts the petals right up. Okay, and again, you just come over here, press it in, and because the Magnolia, this is petal 1 from the Magnolia Mini Flower template, only has 3 petals per layer, you can make it pretty fast peony. But because it only had 3, we needed a few more layers than I normally use. Generally, I will use 9 layers. But again, because these only have 3 per layer, I chose to add some more so it would close in a little bit more. Okay, now for the 30 millimeter, you will press in a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult, but you can still get the paper in there. We're going to change the size of our metal ball stylus down to a little bit smaller. And then you're still just going to roll it around. So it's going to have a much deeper curl. So if you compare them, they're the same size petal, but one's a lot deeper. Again, you just press it in. Just be careful. And you do want the crinkles. And roll it. Okay, rotate it around, press it in, and stir. Okay. And then you can roll the center. Okay, now what I did, and you do that to all the petals. So again, 3 of them use the 30mm, 8 of them you use the 35mm. All right, so I'm going to optionally add some tea dye. So and depending what color you're using for your paper, it's going to depend on what color inks you're going to use to create it. So I find it's a little bit easier to do it once we roll them, because you're going to really highlight the shape of it. So you can just go around the outside, a little bit on the inside. I don't want it super duper inked, but just enough to highlight the shape of it. Okay. So you can see it on the outside and a little bit right around the edge there on the inside. And then we're going to do the same for the other two. So I keep them in 2 separate piles just so I know which ones are my very center ones, which are the smaller ones, even though they're all the same size petals. Flip it over and then add your ink. And then our last one. Okay. For our sepal, I did 2 of them. You can do 1 or 2, up to you. I'm going to take the 3/16 inch dowel rod, which is our blue one. So my dowel rod sets, I offer in my Etsy shop, come color coded. So I hand marker them to color code them, and then the chart that you receive to let you know which size they are. So we're going to use the blue. And we're going to just place it down in the petal. I do at an angle slightly, it depends. So you can come in at different angles and just roll them up. So pinch it up and roll. Place it down the middle of the petal, thumb, index finger, pinch it up and roll. And I do both of them at the same time. Now you can add some ink on this one as well if you want to. For this I did use, for my green paper, this is by Recollections from Michaels from the Forest Paper Pack. Hold it at the bottom and just add some ink. Totally optional. But since we inked our petals, I'm going to add a little bit and go around the outside. So again, whatever color paper you're using, it's going to vary with what color ink you're using. And depending on your project. And I like to add my ink after I roll because I like to highlight the shape of the petal. Okay, now for our centers, I did cut 5 of them. It fills up the center nicely. So we are going to, I'm going to stack 3 at a time. And we're going to curl it with our bone folder. So I hold it at the bottom between my fingers. and you just pull like you're curling ribbon. So then it looks like lashes rolled towards you. And we're going to again do our last two and curl them the same way. Okay, again, they're curled towards you. Because with the traditional peony, we assemble our flower from the center out, we do need to create our center right away. So we're going to take one of them, thread it onto the slotted quilling tool. Okay. You're going to roll it towards you. After a few rolls, you're going to add some hot glue. And roll it towards you. Okay. We'll leave it on our slotted quilling tool. Add enough glue to make one rotation around, meaning enough to wrap it all the way around so it stays. You're going to start it by overlapping the last one you added just a little bit. Roll it towards you and secure the end with hot glue. Okay. 3 more to add. Add enough hot glue on the bottom here so that it makes one rotation around. So start it by overlapping the last one just ever so slightly. And one rotation around means right there. So it covers the last. And then you can just roll the rest, keeping that bottom edge aligned the best you can. Secure the end with hot glue. Okay. Again, add enough glue to make one rotation around that center. Okay, you're going to overlap where the last one where the last one ended. That's okay. Okay, make your one rotation around and roll it towards you. Sometimes it happens. So you just roll with it and then secure your end with hot glue. Okay. And then we have one more. Again, we want to add enough glue here to make one rotation around your center. So go to where the last one ended, overlap slightly. And then roll it towards you, keeping it even down here at the bottom. Secure the end with hot glue. So you can see it happens even to your teacher. All right, now you can press down just to give it a little bit of shape. And now we can go back and add some ink to your liking. Again, you're not going to see a lot of it, mostly the top. So you can add a little bit of tea dye if you want. Mostly to the outside we're doing here because we did roll it. I didn't ink them ahead of time. I didn't want to do too much ink to this flower. And then this is where I come in and we add a little bit of vintage photo, which is a little bit darker brown. You can go around the bottom if you want. Again, you're not really seeing the bottom. And then a little bit in the tips. Like a marshmallow was burned. Or you're toasting your marshmallow. And then a little bit of seedless preserves. So I kept all my Peony ink colors the same so they could coordinate depending on the project that I'm doing. So you can add a little bit of purple at the top. Again, where you add the coloring is totally up to you. Okay, now we're going to take our inks and put them to the side. And if you want to, I was using wild honey as well. I'm going to add a little bit below the purple. Again, it all depends how you want to style it. All right, so now we're going to start with our 3 that we rolled with the 30mm because they're our innermost center of our peony. Okay, so you can roll these with your metal ball stylus to make sure they're standing up, and you can also pull down each petal. These should close up pretty much because they have a nice really curved shape to them. So now my center is larger than the bottom, so I'm just going to add a bunch of hot glue right in the center mostly. And then what you can do is literally just put it right here on the back and put it in the center. And then you just want to hold it to make sure it dries. And then when they come up and around, it fits literally around. So now what you want to do is when we're adding each one, I'm going to go to where there's a gap and I'm going to look to see where I want to place it. So I normally place the one that's by itself. It should fall right in between. Again, your placement is totally up to you. So now that I know it's going that way, I'm just going to hold it there and add some glue right in the center. So if you figure out the placement first, then it's a lot easier to glue it right on your petal or on your flower. And they're just going to come up and around. Now it will stay more open once we start adding more petals. Okay, so these are the last 3 that we added, so I might go here or this way. Oops. So just keep rotating it around. I think that placement is good. So again, I'm just going to add it right in the center. A little bit of hot glue. Bring it back. And then it should fall right in between. So it will be much more open once we keep adding our layers, so don't stress. Okay, so now here's our last 3 petals. So I'll probably go here or here. So we're going to start pulling from our other pile. You can roll the center. So now these aren't as curled anymore, our petals. So we're going to look for the top one. I think that is good. Again, all the petals are exactly the same size. We just rolled some in a different size mold. Okay. So we did this one, and this one, so you can see it. This, and this was our last layer. So now let's grab our next one, roll the center. Let's figure out our placement, which looks to be like right there, or yeah, no, back here. So if you figure out your placement first, it makes it a lot easier. Especially because these are a 3-petal. It's a little bit more difficult than your traditional flowers making the peony. So you can just keep grabbing it so it's nice and tight. Grab your next one, roll the center. Now we keep adding glue right to the same spot, so just be careful. These were our last 3, so usually go to one of the gaps for the top petal. And when I say the top petal, it's going to be the one that's out here by itself more. The other 2 are closer together. So when you flip it over, then you can see where you want your placement. In between the previous layer's petals. Okay, keep rotating it around. These were my last 3 petals, 1, 2, 3, so it should go up here. So don't forget to roll your center. Okay, again we roll our center. You can pull the petals down if you need to. So we're going to check our placement. Flip it over. Flip it back. And then we can see where we need to place our next petal. So we have our last 2. So you can see it's a lot more open now. So let's figure out where we want our petal. Okay, and then our last one. Figure out your placement, add your hot glue directly to the back of the flower. Now you can go back before we add the sepal and add any colors that you want. So maybe we want to add a little bit of the darker brown vintage photo and a little bit of the purple. Just because I was adding these to my previous flowers I made with my Magnolia template. So they'll all coordinate super nicely. Just add a little bit. Not a whole bunch. Or it depends on how much you want for your project, like distressing or shading. Look at it from all different angles. I think the brown makes it look like a toasted marshmallow. And then add some seedless preserves if you want. Just because, again, I've been using that on my other flowers. This way they will all coordinate. And then lastly, you can add your sepals. So if you're stemming it, I do have a video here on YouTube. Otherwise, I am going to attach them with the petals rolled under. So you can, again, just add a little bit of hot glue in the center. And with them rolled under, place it on the back. Add a little bit more hot glue. Make sure they're rolled under, and then we're going to place this right in between. And there you have a beautiful peony using the Magnolia Mini Flower template. You can see my previous versions. I did like shades of pink from the Roses Paper Pack by Recollections from Michaels, but they're super duper pretty, and then they coordinate with the open peonies I made with the Magnolia. Thank you for watching.